event for me. Getting an award like this in the town where I started means a lot. Getting this award in the town where I walked into the Kaufman Studios, your neighbor and landlord, I understand, and saw a set that had been built early for us to rehearse on for The World According to Garp. And I realized when I walked in, and when we were in Kaufman, it wasn't renovated, it was quite musty and fabulous. But we walked into this set and I realized this set exists because of my character. I better be good. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for this amazing evening. To Michael and Ivan, Carl Goodman, thank you so much. To all the people here who are the founders of this incredible institution. How proud I am to have my name added to the incredible people that you have given this award to. And to see my friends as part of this tribute, I was thinking, and I have actually a speech written, but I was just thinking that those of us in this profession, we make these amazing friendships because we go through a journey where we have to trust each other immediately. My fellow actors, you have to trust in order to go to the places that you are asked to go to. And that trust and the intensity of that experience for me and for all the people that you have seen, Balaban and Jim and Christian, and we will be friends for life because it creates a bond that is unbroken, and you don't have to, time doesn't matter because we experienced something phenomenal together. And so the first thing I want to do is thank my friends who were in all these movies and plays with me. I wouldn't be here without them. I want to also, before I start, compliment the Teen Council for being here. How wonderful that you're here and what you're doing and the stories that you tell and the voices that you represent. How important that is in a city where in a lot of our schools we don't have arts at all. That's important. And what you say is important. Your lives and your voices matter because you're going to change the world. I really believe that, for the better. Kevin Kline went when we were all making The Big Chill down in Beaufort, South Carolina. He had just done The French Lieutenant's Woman. And he left us. He along with Bill Hurt they were the big stars. Bill was the big star. Kevin was the up-and-coming big star. And he went out to do the Dick Cavett show. And Kevin, we always would tease him because he looked in the mirror more than anyone else. And he always said that he had a potato nose. And so we said, okay, you go on to Johnny Carson, but you have to say sometime during your interview, you have to say potato. So he went on Johnny Carson. We all were on the television, and Johnny Carson asked him a question. And Kevin said, "Oh, holy potato." I can't believe that they. Oh, and Chris Walken. When I was producing and developing Sarah Planet Hall, they wanted Don Johnson to be the farmer. And I said, this is so easy. No. Not anything against Don Johnson, but I said, I want Chris Walken. And they said, but he's so scary, and he can't play a Kansas farmer. And he was magnificent. And so beautiful. And we've stayed friends. And Redford, dear Bob, boy, was it hard to throw him out of that apartment. Anyway. And he says, you know, I keep dropping my Kleenex. Anyway, so now I'll read my speech. It's humbling and, kind of confusing, trying to figure out what to say when given an award like this. I don't feel wise or particularly insightful. If anything, I feel more aware of the fragility of it all. As far as the choices that are the reason I'm here tonight, I think of something that Stephen Frears said at a big, buzzy European press conference for Dangerous Liaisons all those years ago. Accolades were pouring in. Stephen was the man of the moment. Someone got up and started making some very intellectual observations about certain aspects of the film. I think the guy was French. Something like how he had so brilliantly mirrored the complexity of the relationships with his use of light and shadow, or maybe it was his use of the camera and the choice of close-ups. And then this person concluded by asking Stephen how had he done it, how had he managed to get it right on so many levels. And Stephen pondered for a moment and then said, well, just seemed like a good idea at the time. And the fact that my very subjective choices that seemed like a good idea at the time have actually added up to a body of work that matters to people is something I'll never get used to. I think of moments where one feels totally devoid of inspiration, and an entire crew is watching, and the minutes are ticking by, and the producers are looking at their watches, and a terrible panic starts grabbing you by the throat because you know you don't have it, and you have no clue as to what it is and where it will come from. Moments that demand the simplicity of truth, because that's the only thing that connects, and without it, you might as well get into another line of work. It happened with Istvan Sabo on the set of Meeting Venus when he sensed my distress and came over and put his hand on my shoulder and whispered, "Not to worry, we're waiting for the angel." It happened with Adrienne Lyne on the set of Fatal Attraction in the scene where Alex has slit her wrists, but we don't find out until we see blood on Dan's face, and I was terrible and struggling, and Adrienne came over and whispered, "Try to laugh." It happened when Jeremy Irons and I were flailing in the second act of Tom Stoppard's The Real Thing, and our director, the wondrous Mike Nichols, stopped the rehearsal, walked up to us, put his arms around our shoulders and whispered, "When you feel lost, drown in each other's eyes." It happened with Bjorn Runge, who looked me in the eye before we started shooting The Wife and whispered, "You can trust me," and then proved that I could. It's because I've had so many brilliant people constantly whispering in my ear that I'm here today. I think my favorite acceptance speech of any kind was when Maureen Stapleton won the Oscar and said, "I want to thank everyone I've ever met in my entire life." I feel like that tonight because it's all so connected. Starting with Professor Howard Scammon, who was the head of the theater department of William and Mary, and who would clench his fists in the wings and hiss, "Just do it!" And Mary Beth Hurd, my beloved Mary Beth, who I understudied at my first job, whose talent has inspired me all these years and has been my best friend for 44 years, the length of my career. Mary Beth, when I say inspired me, I really mean that. She has the great gift of coming up with unbelievable business. And I've always thought of myself as kind of a meat and potatoes actress. But Mary Beth comes up with these incredible things that you just kind of marvel at. And I remember once I was doing Uncle Vanya at Yale, and I was playing Sonia, who comes in and just walks across the stage and exits. And I thought, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And I said, what would Mary Beth do? And I came up with an action that was mentioned in, I think it was the New York Times, as a brilliant, a brilliant choice of the directors. But it was all Mary Beth. I owe her so much. George Roy Hill, who put me in my first movie, and who, when I went up to him and said, I hope you'll take care of me, I've heard that a lot of stage actors can't make the transition into film, he said, yeah, you're right, a lot of them can't. Adrian Lyne, who thought of the pigeons in the window, and Michael and my crazy sex scene in the kitchen sink. And then the people I think of as I'm standing here is Catherine Olam, my PR mama for 38 years, my beloved Kevin Huvane, who came all the way from LA to be here tonight. And Franklin Ladd, who works with him, who have stood by me through thick and thin. And in one of my low points, Kevin was at the other end of the line, hearing my distress. It was late at night, I was down in the village. And at 11:30 at night, the doorbell rung on my apartment, and first I thought, oh my God, do I dare open it? Who is it at this hour? I did, and it was a bunch of yellow roses with an incredible note from Kevin, something to the tune like, don't let the fuckers get you down. And they have had the patience to deal with all the insecurities that is part of being an actor. Mark Chamlin and Richard Konigsberg, who are here tonight, two rocks in my life, thank you. And of course, my beloved daughter Annie, who was 7 weeks old when we arrived on the set of Dangerous Liaisons, and the reason why I had such great boobs. Who's now 30 and a beautiful actress in her own right. They're my home team, and I thank them for their undying love and support. What a luxury it is to be in a profession where you can go to work looking like a bag lady and come out an hour and a half later looking fabulous. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the costume designers, hair and makeup artists who have been my invaluable collaborators in building the characters I've played. Martial Conneville, you saw his wig in Albert Nobbs. He got nominated for an Oscar for 2 wigs. That's how brilliant his peers know he is. Best wig maker in the world, styled my Corella wigs and has made wigs for all my movies since. Andrew Simonin and Rick Coroto, hairstylist. Jean-Luc Roussier, who did the Cruella and Dangerous Liaisons. Sherry Kornhaber and Charlotte Hayward, who are my collaborators now. Annie Roth, who dressed me in garb and designed the iconic suits and Jagged Edge, has been a magnificent collaborator over the years and whose costumes I've been lucky to wear both on stage and in film. Anthony Powell, who tortured me with corsets and shoes in Dalmatian movies. Jim Atchison, who put me in those luscious silks and satins and gave me my fabulous bosom in Dangerous Liaisons. Ellen Mirajic, who gave Alex Forrest her black leather coat. Frank Fleming, who gave Patty Hughes her suits and big shirt collars, and so many more people. If it wasn't for all the DPs who have worked their magic on me all these years, I certainly wouldn't be here today. Although one of the things I tend to hear most from people who recognize me is, you look so much better in life than you do in the movies. And I always want to say to them, do you really think that's a compliment? I guess it's better than, I guess I have a few years to go before they're saying, weren't you somebody? The producers, actually that happened to a friend of mine once. Producers, writers, directors, actors, too many to mention. Thank you. The most precious thing we have is time, and our lives are the sum of how we choose to spend it and with whom. For me, the process is everything. Choosing the projects that I can believe in, involving people who I can't wait to spend time with, to play, to try to get it right. That is the ultimate luxury. To be given an award like this for something that already makes me so deeply happy and fulfilled is truly an embarrassment of riches. Thank you very much.